So thank you very much. I think we've got a couple of microphones there. So a lot of the conversation we had, Dave, we talked about generative AI and the rest of it. I think I challenged you with a couple of things. What are the limits? What are the frontiers and that sort of thing? Right, in the near term, what do you think are the most promising use cases for generative AI, not just in the areas you're looking at, but elsewhere?
It's hard to say. It's moving at a great speed. I mean, the most interesting use case in generative AI these days are the use of agents. That's what I was talking about yesterday evening with my colleagues here. It's so agents are the ability of large language models, such as the GPT type of model, to use tools. So, like, I mean, the infancy of humanity, really, I mean, starting to use tools to solve our question. In a way, why are we great at what we do as humans is because we are using tools, really. And that is the next frontier. So the ability to query Google, to read Google, to summarize information, to not only, so Google is this generic thing, it queries everything, but you could imagine in our sphere querying internal database of documents which are chemical, for example, reaction database. And the ability for those large language model, where you ask a question in plain text, to query those specific database, internal database of chemical reactions specific to your company, retrieve this information and innovate on top of it. So that's, I think, is the next frontier. I think it's not the computing side too much. It's what do we want to do? So I'm going back to the same thing, is our ability to think of what can we do with those new type of tools that we are creating. In a way, the tools are there, but what do we want to do with it? The creator, the inventor had a specific use case in mind, which was like a chatbot. But it's not exactly fitting everybody's use case. It's not the thing.
So before I pass on to the others, that kind of brings up something interesting about maturity in general. One of the things we talked about is the technology, the infrastructure more mature, the models more mature and so on, but actually maybe it's the use cases and our imagination needs to mature as well.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I'm not an expert here and AI is a little bit far, but I think you made a very nice statement there. I mean, in the beginning, we didn't know how to use Google, and often we refer to that. I often refer to that as someone that has a very good Google API because he is able to use Google in such a way that he finds the answer almost immediately. And I think also with AI, that will be kind of the challenge, right? I mean, to how are we going to exactly use it? What are the questions that we need to ask it? Yeah.
In a way, I mean, you query Google, you have like, I mean, I don't know if you remember at the beginning, Google was returning quite few results. You could go through the result on the page and you could read it. But at the beginning, and after that, they invented this Google and you had the name Goo and they added basically O's for the number of page. At the end, they stopped basically because there are like 167 page. And like nobody go behind the first page anyway. But ChatGPT-like models are able to summarize the information of multiple pages into a paragraph. And that you can read. As our attention span has reduced, as that we cannot go through document, but it's true. I mean, you open a link and you're like, and there's more links and there is more things to read, and you're like, I need to Google for those concepts, and it's very complex. So documenting yourself, in a way, we are trying to tackle challenge like bringing a cure to certain cancer or certain disease like asthma, etc., or hemophilia. The amount of knowledge we need to ingest is humongous, and we need to be able to have the tools. Next level is really to summarize information for us and go even beyond that so that we can basically be able to use the knowledge we generated in all different specific fields, you know, like it's, yeah.
Anything you want to add?
Well, I'm not an AI expert, so I can't really comment on that.
But in this sort of sector, we're being impacted by the needs of having to respond to AI in that sense.
Well, you caught me off guard. Well,
I'm sorry.
I mean, we of course are producing our own models, and I mean, using those tools from NVIDIA is probably really great. You will hear Fabian talk after the break how we really apply AI in our research, and it's more seeing to kind of formulate hypotheses to then go back to the lab and see is that really true. I mean, that's the same problem with ChatGPT. It tells you all sorts of stuff, but is it true what it's telling you, right? So you have to somehow verify that. And that's kind of the problem we are working on. And also how to explain why the AI came to this result. So explainable AI, especially if think of it, you go to a clinic, you want to be treated, and the AI system tells you, yeah, you need to take medication X. And it doesn't tell you why. What is it that you have, right? Well, yeah, I just inferred that that's the best. As a patient, you don't want that, right? And that's the problem we are working on. This explainable AI. Why is it that the algorithm came to this result?
That's an interesting problem. Yeah, it's we see that. We see also the concern about privacy. Everybody, I mean, knows a story about using those tools online. You give information when you use that. And a lot of people don't want to do that. They want to have their own, basically, models in-house where people can query. You can train on your own data, and everything is kept in-house. And so that's, I mean, where NVIDIA is basically providing solution for that, to be able to have those models in-house to do that, yeah. So, but explainable AI, yeah, is a definite topic, yeah.
Okay, good. I guess we may return to that topic a bit later on. But for now, I'd like to thank everyone for the panel. We'll take a short break now. And we'll You have.
So I would like to hijack the first question that was there and to ask something as a follow-up. So 10 years ago, data scientist was a very promising job career. And today we're seeing this rise of prompt engineers, which is exactly what we said. It's people that know how to ask the question in such a way that the AI models are able to answer it with a high degree of accuracy. And we all know that garbage in, garbage out, that's typical computer science problem. And the kind of questions that you're building is really going to provide you a true answer or something very far from what you want. So do you see a future, maybe short-term or mid-term, where you in your own organizations will hire these kind of people, prompt engineers, not only data scientists, and maybe prompt engineers with domain-specific knowledge? Sorry for the very provocative question.
I think we will certainly focus on the domain a lot more. We saw some activity in AI, especially with deep learning, machine learning, a couple of years ago. And what we now see is because of ChatGPT and how popular it has become, I mean, you cannot ignore it anymore. And that is essentially the sense that you get also in our company, in our domain. We really need to look into this, and then of course you're looking at profiles. Okay, what are the profiles that we're looking at? What are the things that we need to really do? And one of the things that was interesting that you said, okay, it's about doing these things internally with your own data, because that's essentially what you're worried about as a private company, right? It's critical. But that means you also have to build this kind of infrastructure, this kind of knowledge. So indeed, this type of AI as a service will become a kind of very important market, I think. And then, I mean, are those prompts guys? That's a very, I didn't know if that role existed essentially, but are those prompt guys, is that also something that you can get as a service, or is it something that you internalize? That's going to be a very interesting thing to see happening in the next 1 or 2 years, I think.
If I may, I mean, it's prompt engineering is, for me, it's still, so do we need to hire them? I don't think we need to hire them rather than form, and it's not an heavy training to do to this level. You need to have a system in the back that is able to understand what you would like to do. So that's the first thing. It's like, it's not a generic system. by default. For example, you want to have something that code for you or give you a code example for you. That's doable, but querying your own data. So for example, searching, I mean, you work in the seed business, searching your entire database about different features of different seeds. That need to be trained internally, and the prompt will come naturally. In a way, it's a bit like, yeah, I mean, using those ChatGPT. Everybody knows to use ChatGPT. It's super simple. It's like our CEO described it as an iPhone moment. Nobody got trained to use iPhone. But what it democratizes is that everybody is now basically Googling stuff. It's like you're in a conversation and say, yeah, did you hear about, what was the thing already? You know, like, and you're in a way, you're prompting. So I think the new people, us, will have prompt engineering in our blood, in a way. Using this tool would be like formulating ideas for this algorithm. It's gonna be cool.
Okay, thanks very much.